Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Captain Courageous, and as you can see, I've got Matt Finch with me from Mythmere Games. We're going to talk Swords and Wizardry, Kickstarters, the OGL, and more, coming right up on RPG Retro Reviews. Hey, Matt. Welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you.
Always a pleasure to be here.
I remember we talked last month, and we were real excited about your Kickstarter, and then we had a little snag happen. What the heck was that about?
The thing with the OGL getting
Yeah,
canceled temporarily, yeah.
yeah, that was
Uh,
weird.
yeah, it was. And there had been some warnings out there before that they might try and do that, which I think everyone just sort of wrote off as being they're talking about doing this, they'd love to do it, but they can't do it. And then bam, all of a sudden here it is. So that was quite something when that came down. Looks like it's pretty much, gone away now in terms of the immediate risk. And we can talk about, if we've got time, we can talk about what the remaining risks are that are out there. But from the
Yeah, I'd definitely
standpoint
like
of
to talk
most
about that.
Okay. From the standpoint of most people, though, I think that everything is pretty much okay because they've dropped so much of the 5.1 SRD into the Creative Commons license that it's usable both by the fifth edition third-party publishers who were the ones who were most at risk, and it covers enough that most people using, most OSR publishers are also probably covered by that because OSR publishers need a somewhat different type of stuff coming in, but I think they're both covered. So,
Yeah, that was really weird. And I get vibes from that of old TSR,
oh
where
yeah.
you have basically two sets of managers or people who are in conflict in the company as
Mhm.
to what direction things should be taken. I mean, that's just the way it seems to me when you have mixed messages come from the company like that.
Yeah. And especially, keep in mind too that, the Hasbro Wizards of the Coast unit is so much larger than TSR ever was
Right.
that there is more confusion, more factionalism. It's just normal. The more people you have, the more factions you're going to have, and the more that kind of thing is going to kick in. So I think that's a really, really accurate gauge. I've worked for some public companies back when I was a lawyer, not a lot, so I don't have great experience there, but having seen the inside of some publicly traded companies, that's it's a very valid assumption that you sometimes are hearing a faction speaking rather than a unified voice of a company.
Yeah, I mean, my own personal background, I managed a Radio Shack for 10 years.
Mhm.
And one of the things that they would do is the top 100 managers in the company would go down to Texas. And I would go down to Texas because I was in that group.
Mhm.
And I mean, a lot of times the things that we would say would filter down to company wide policy. But then,
Yeah.
you hear some things going on. And you're like, man, I just don't understand where they're coming
Yeah,
from.
where is this coming from? I have no idea.
It
Yeah, and
doesn't
it's
make
coming
any
it's
sense.
coming from somebody in accounting who's looking at how to maximize the multiple of the company on the stock market. And so they've got a completely different view and different expertise, being used to draw their conclusions about what ought to happen, as opposed to people who are actually in the trenches dealing with customers, as opposed to people who are moving trucks, doing logistics and stuff back and forth,
Right.
and they've got their own ideas about how to make a company work better. So it's always, there's always multiple different voices the larger the company you get.
Also, I'm looking at the backgrounds on their upper managers.
Mhm.
And the what's it, Williams? What's her name? First name.
It's not Lorraine.
I know it sounds like Larry.
I can't hear it as anything other than Lorraine after the history of the thing. So
Yeah, I was like two Williams, and but the digital background of the other guy, Scott something, is it? I'm
yeah.
sorry, I should have looked this up before I did this interview. But yeah, it seems like there's some people that have not been in tabletop gaming who
Yeah.
have a direction that they want to take things that is not compatible with tabletop gaming reality, if you know what I'm
Right.
saying.
No, I totally agree.
But forget all that stuff. Let's talk about your Kickstarter.
Okay.
So I really want to hear about page counts, some artwork,
Mhm.
and some changes that are maybe from the OGL perspective, or just cool changes that you think are coming. Because I've got this edition right here,
Okay.
and I love this book. I mean, I love everything about it. I gave it a very high rating when I reviewed it a couple of years ago, and because I like the aspects of Swords and Wizardry where it's very much in keeping with the white box original, but also integrating a lot of modern quickness to it, so that
Yep.
it's still familiar to maybe someone coming from a more modern game, because you've got ascending armor class as well as descending. You can choose, and I think that's a great option, and I think that makes Swords and Wizardry a great OSR choice for anyone who might be new to the hobby.
Mhm. Yeah, and we definitely try to keep it, with, you know, it's as faithful to the original as it can get. But when there was something that we couldn't legally duplicate, then we looked out there to say, okay, well, what's the best thing? And so that's, the single saving throw, category with the modifiers based on your class, for example, is something that a lot of people, like and think it
It's brilliant.
streamlines. So, we tried to do our best. When we were forced to move off of the actual old school dime into something, and the ascending armor class, it came out during the era of third edition when ascending armor class was brand new, and I think that's something that's gotten in there and stuck, the ascending armor class, because it is, for somebody who's seeing it for the first time, it's more intuitive than descending armor class. But for those of us who started with descending armor class, of course, descending armor class is intuitive. You can't get your mind off of the way that you learn something the first time
Absolutely,
around.
sure.
So to answer the questions, the page count is almost exactly the same as the one in the earlier version that you held up. It's going to be 144 pages, and right at the moment we've got 140 pages of content, and those extra 4 blank pages are because it's being sewn in signatures in a really high quality binding. But when you do it that way, it's done by folding and sewing groups, so everything has to be in multiples of 8. So we'll
Right.
figure out some way to fill up those last 4 pages. Either we'll put in art, here and there, or we might just put notes at the top of the thing, which a lot of people do when they have
Right.
excess pages. So that's so it's going to be 144 pages. And then we're going to have there's 2 versions of the book. One of them is the offset print version, which will have that really high quality sewn binding. The other one is going to be a print on demand version for people who are not in the US, and have really, really high shipping costs somewhere. A lot of times it makes sense to
Oh,
do a print on demand thing because it's usually printed in the country where you are,
oh, that's a
or in an
cool
area
idea.
where
I
the
didn't know
shipping
that. That's
things
a
are right. And so that's what the Aerolotus cover is for, is the print on demand. And there are some people out there who aren't fond of the Arrow cover, so we may also do another version of a cover for the print on demand, which is green instead of blue or something like that. We want to have a definite difference of appearance between the high quality offset one versus the print on demand one, because over time people are going to start selling their used copies on Amazon, and we don't want to have the mix of somebody thinking that they're buying a sewn binding and then ending up with something that's a print on demand glue binding. So we're trying to keep the appearance of the 2 books
That's
separate,
smart.
but we
Yeah,
may
good
give people
idea.
that option. And I think this is a relatively recent thing that Drive-Thru has done. So that may be something we have to walk people through, because what happens is if they're buying the print-on-demand book, they're only paying $20 on the Kickstarter, but they are also then having to go to Drive-Thru RPG, and they'll have a code that lets them print the book with no markup. So they're paying what a publisher would pay for it. So basically, they're paying the profit to us on the Kickstarter, but there are still going to be some extra charges on the back end when they go and get it made at Drive-Thru. So we'll
Gotcha. For
walk
the
people
material and
through
shipping.
how that works. Yeah. Well, shipping will be charged through the Kickstarter, but it's not included in the pledge level. So it'll be one of those things where you make your pledge and then it pops up a thing saying, here's your shipping charge, and you've never seen that before. So that'll throw some people when that goes in. But we're still working through actually getting all of the different pieces finalized in the Kickstarter page, to where they'll work. But those are known issues where people will run into confusion. But it's going to be a relatively simple Kickstarter. We're just doing the book, and then we were planning on just doing the book, no stretch goals, no add-ons. Now, just based on the number of people who have signed up to be notified, which at this point is more than 1,700, which is actually more than we had for the Tome of Adventure Design. So it's going to be a relatively big Kickstarter, in terms of, it looks like it might break 100,000.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, well, right now I think if we launch today, we're probably looking at something that's like 90,000, 85 to 90,000. It's a little hard to read the tea leaves just from the signups to be notified
Sure.
because you're making a big leap. But it's going to be a relatively large Kickstarter. So we're going to add stretch goals, which will to people who have done Swords and Wizardry Kickstarters before. They won't be terribly exciting. They're going to be digital spell list for the magic user, cleric, druid, the spellcasting classes, but they'll be arranged in order of spells by level rather than alphabetically. Because we do know that usually the referee prefers to have the books listed in alphabetical order because you may run into them, from a monster or somebody like that. And so you don't want to have to look at each different set of pages per level until you find it. So it's easier alphabetically. But
I'm
players
on that
usually.
camp by far. Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. I think any referee probably is, but players are often very much on the other side because they like to see their spells getting stronger and stronger and stronger as they're reading, and they're thinking of spells in terms of I got to fill a particular slot for this level, so it's much more convenient for me as a player to just have those spells bunched together. And so that's a way of, and we may even make that a print on demand thing, or maybe print on demand later on. You get the PDF with the Kickstarter, but not immediately. But so that the players can have their little spell book,
Oh,
that's
that sounds
convenient for the
fun.
way they think of it. So we'll do those, and probably uh, you know um,
Have their own
it'll,
grimoire.
it'll it'll be little digital things of that, because what you want to avoid with stretch goals is anything that can increase the shipping cost, because
Right.
that's a nasty surprise on Kickstarters when you discover that because of your stretch goals you're paying more in shipping. But what we'll do, and then we're also probably going to add in the main Kickstarter an introductory module. I talked to James Spahn about writing one because he's, very has really good sense of swords and wizardry.
Yeah, James
um
is great.
yeah
Him and I have interacted together, talked a lot, because he did the another. He's got his own old school um, game,
Yeah, the hero's journey
The
he's got,
Hero's Journey. Yeah, I
he
love
did
that game.
he did White Star. So he's very much in tune with the way the mechanics work. And he
Yep.
said, yes, my schedule's open enough that I can get something, written and done before the Kickstarter launches. So we'll get it. We'll be able to edit it. We're ordering a piece of cover art now. So there will be an introductory adventure available within the Kickstarter as well, just because a lot of people, want to see that. The one thing that we can't do that I know that a lot of people would love to have is a GM screen, and for that you need a sort of a specialty printer because it's not a book,
Right.
it's a fold out type of thing. So we'll do that in the next Kickstarter for Swords and Wizardry down the road when we do a supplemental, sort of Unearthed Arcana type of book. But we are
So
going to add stretch goals, and we are going to add an introductory module into this one.
I was going to ask you. So there is an introductory module. Is it going to be bound in the book, or is that going to be a separate printing?
No, it'll be a separate
Oh, that's
a separate
awesome.
thing.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
don't want to I don't want to increase the page count on the book for, because most people, they'll look at it and it probably is useful, but then after that it's dead weight in your book because you've read it and you're not using it anymore.
okay, that makes
So
sense.
we'll do a separate a separate thing for that. So
Right. Well, are you going to be maybe just doing a PDF GM screen that you could print out or anything like that?
see that,
Because I mean, like I've got the
probably not, but I think what people really want is something that's relatively, a real durable GM screen rather than I've printed out these pieces of paper and stapled them to cardboard kind
Oh
of a
no,
thing.
no, I'm not talking about that. See, for example, let me see if I can't find you.
I have derailed the interview at this point. Sorry, everybody. Dave will be back shortly, though.
So here's my own GM screen for my Star Wars. That's all that I made up on my printer,
Mhm.
and
And then
I'm
it slid into the pockets. Is that
and slid
one of
into the
those?
pockets, which is just great because you can put your own player facing
Mhm.
and GM facing thing. And quite frankly, I mean, I got enough GM screens. It's easier for me to just print out the things. I just need the tables adjusted as I
Yeah,
want.
Yeah.
And it's very nice to have that already done by, say, you
Mhm.
guys, as opposed to me doing it myself because it's so time consuming.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, that's possible. And those are, because there's also the issue of the sizes of the GM screen. That one is going to be made for 8.5 by 11 letter sized
Right now,
pieces of paper. So
that one I did because I did that in homage to the original Star Wars things, but I do prefer the landscaping screen myself. I have that,
right.
but so
And see, that's where you start getting into the difficulties with what is it that
well,
you
you could do it
actually
both
produce
ways.
for a thing.
I mean, once you have the charts set
You're
up,
piling work on me, Dave. I don't.
I am. I'm giving you some stretch goal suggestions here. I'm like, hey,
Okay.
do a
All right.
landscaping and do a portrait. It doesn't matter, whatever you choose, and print it out yourself, and then you can make your own artwork on the front. Whatever you want. Or if you wanted to, that would be more another stretch goal. Additional artwork PDF for the front because PDFs don't add to the shipping.
No, that's true. I mean, and that's why PDFs are the ideal stretch goal, is because you don't actually have to physically pick and pack and
And you can
send
send
things
them.
out. So.
You can get the PDF long before you actually get the physical product too, which is cool.
And we are gonna. I mean, we are on the verge of finishing the layout. We're at the point where now we're replacing pieces. Where we had used stock art as a placeholder, and again we're looking at the what it's going to bring in, and it's probably going to be larger. So there are one or two things where we're talking. We're replacing a piece of art and so on and so forth. But we'll be delivering the PDF very, very pretty much at the day that Kickstarter gets us the money, which is about a month usually after it closes.
Right.
Then we'll probably be sending out PDFs that day on things. So
Right.
um,
Like you
it'll be a
guys,
very rapid return.
this is old hat for you. You guys in this game for a long time, so that's one of the
Oh yeah.
things about dealing with Mythmere games is you guys are going to be able to have this Kickstarter is going to populate fast.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed because things go wrong on absolutely every single Kickstarter. Our last one, we thought we had the fulfillment side of it down. It was a one book Kickstarter. We had a warehouse. Warehouse had a good reputation, and it turned, after we launched the pre-launch page was when, we're like, yeah, we're done with COVID. Nothing's going to happen here. We'll do the pre-launch page, and then Russia invades Ukraine. So that was a
Oh
surprise.
well,
And
barring World War III, who knows what's
yeah.
going to happen?
Well, but that was it, and and so because of that, a whole bunch of people suddenly decided not to do their printing in China because stuff was going to be overseas and people weren't sure about,
Right.
whether people were going to be shooting at ships and things like that. And so the result was that all of a sudden there was a big glut of work at the U.S. printers, and our printers said, we're not actually going to be able to. We'll turn this project around in the regular start period, but the problem is that we're not going to be able to get to it for 3 months from the point that it goes out. So, there was effectively a 3 month delay to get something printed at a U.S. printer, and so you never know exactly what's going to happen. But hopefully, we've foreseen enough circumstances that we'll be able to get it out.
I'm gonna
So,
knock on wood right here, hopefully I didn't curse you.
yeah, thank you.
But do you have any artists off the top of your head that you can name that maybe some of my viewers are familiar with?
Well, I mean, obviously, Errol Lotus with the cover up there. Del
Yeah,
Tigler. Del Tigler has done
oh yeah,
he's the one who did the sort of circular Swords and Wizardry graphic that's going to be on the front of the book, which we didn't even put the title on the front. It's only on the spine of the one that we're offset printing. So that's sort of cool. So Del did that, and he also did a lot of the he illustrated all of the character class things. Right at the moment, we're still using a lot of James Shields stock art speckling through either for the incidental art or the monsters in there. And there are one or two pieces that are coming from older editions of Swords and Wizardry because I did get the rights to use some of those. So some of that art people will have seen before. Uh, I think that's pretty much the whole thing. We work a lot with Ed Bickford, and but I don't think we have any Ed Bickford pieces in this particular book, although I'm not sure about that. And Ala Fedorova is probably going to do something for the book.
oh you got yeah. I really like Del Tigler's artwork. I think he did some artwork for Old School Essentials.
Yeah, I think he did too. But let me give you a quick tip on this, because since his last name is pronounced Tigler, here's how you remember it.
Oh, Tigler.
Except it's gonna get a song stuck in your head. Is just remember it's Eye of the Tigler.
Okay, I'm already here in Survivor.
So there you go.
Great. Right,
Probably
cool.
hundreds of people across YouTube are like, "Oh God, no!" It's stuck in my head. But that's how you remember how to
There's
pronounce
somebody
spells
busy
last name.
typing in the comments right now.
Yeah, angrily.
That's my favorite comment ever when somebody tells me how I pronounce something wrong in one of my videos. I just love those.
Oh yeah, right.
No, I don't like it.
Well, they may have gotten halfway through typing their comment, and then I said it's Tigler, not Tiegler, and they, oh man, I don't get to do my comment.
So we got the Kickstarter coming up. We got. Do you have any? You want to give any maybe details on what the adventure might be about?
Oh, I should also say Brett Barkley is the one doing the cover of the is going to be doing the cover
Oh,
of the adventure title. Okay, now what was the question? Because sorry, that ran through my head right when you
I
were
was going
talking.
to talk about the adventure that.
Okay,
Yeah, let's talk
great.
about that.
Yeah, well, James Spahn is writing it, and we're at sort of a concept phase right now. Um, the So we're not very far along with that yet. He's going to get me a sketch map, but we know enough of the concept of it to be giving Brett the art notes for the cover. And then I'm going to shake the bushes for the interior art and get that. If I can get Ken and James to do it, I'd like to get some stuff, but him as well. Very, very busy. And that's the problem with whenever you add a project, late in the game, to get something out, it's always hard, to find the different resources. So, but we're doing that. It's going to be swamp based. I can say that.
Ooh, Wizard
And
Men.
Yep, exactly. And lizard men, I mean, you sort of have to. So it's going to be swamp based, and the overall structure that we talked about doing was, it's an introductory module. I still maintain that, at least structure wise, the greatest intro module of all time is Keep on the Borderlands, even
I
though that
agree with you.
wasn't the one I started with. I started with S1 in Search of the Unknown, which is a great dungeon adventure. But for an introductory adventure, I think the best structure for it is, here is your home base, meet a few people in the home base. Now you can explore absolutely anywhere. So that gets across the idea of how a sandbox works.
Love that. Yep.
But you've got somewhere in there a subterranean adventure so that people can learn about subterranean adventuring and how that works, since most of the the game is built around either that or something very, very similar to it. And so that's the overall model.
Oh, I'm already excited about it.
It ought to be fun. It ought to be fun. In fact, and I still actually have to look up what the title's going to be, because I haven't got it memorized yet. But I can tell you by looking it up here on my screen that the working title of it is Legacy of Blackscale Lagoon.
Ooh, sounds good.
So, good title.
I'm
I know
down.
what the legacy is too, and so it's a pretty cool one. So
I like it. It implies a little bit of mystery involved there.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah, there
great.
is.
That's
There is.
great.
There's something that the characters are going to have to. It's the it's the question of what is causing these things to happen. What set things in motion, and then there's a thing that set it in motion, and then you've got to do something about it to get things to change. So it's one of those type of things.
Oh, it sounds fun. I mean, like talking about Keep on the Borderlands. I ran that. That is the very first module that I played in.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thief named LaSalle. I spent maybe, I don't know. This is Moldvay basic, with the mauve cover, and I spent, I don't know, 30 minutes rolling him up, and I was all excited because I had been listening to stories of Keep on the Borderlands going on, because the DM, my friend Jim, lived across the street from me, walked to school every single day when we were in junior high school. Mm-hmm. And so we would hear about this. And so then I'm all excited. And so then I get there, and all the guys from the chess club that I knew were there. And so we're getting ready to play, and they convinced me to scout ahead and check the hallway for traps. And I found one and died.
Yeah.
5 minutes into the game.
The number one way for a first level thief to discover a trap. Set it off.
So, and I'm still playing 40 years later, so I guess it's okay. Oh my God.
Yeah, I really don't remember the details of the first adventure that we ran, but it was with my friend Jim, who is probably not the same person as your friend Jim.
Probably not.
And we were playing In Search of the Unknown, the B1, doing the thing. But I remember the excitement of getting ready to do that. So it was a lot of cool, a lot of
And
fun.
the dice. The first time you look at the dice, and the first time that you pull out a piece of graph paper and you start writing the dungeon out as they describe it, it goes along. It was very, very interesting experience. And of course, my daughters, this is obviously 20 some years later, my daughter's playing. She was 12 at the time. And I had both my daughters playing. And my youngest.
Did they send her ahead in Keep on the Borderlands and she died in a trap too? Because that'd be a great story.
She did not die.
Oh, okay.
She did not die. She was actually like 3rd level at the time. And but by this point they had gotten to Cave K, which is the one with the priests, the temple, the Cave of Evil. And so they had got in there and they were going in through. There's a secret entrance to get in there through the back way, and so they were scouting out what was there because they knew that there were high level priests in this area. So they were undead and all this kind of stuff. So they were in there. And so, of course, they sent her out by herself to scout ahead. And now you understand, my friend Jim is playing with us. The guy that ran it for me originally, he's playing with it. My other friend Travis is playing with it. So 2 old heads and my 2 daughters, that was the group. And so they're sitting there. And I describe a set of gold coins just hovering in the middle of the air. Right?
Which we all know what that is, yeah.
And she's a halfling thief, and of course my friend Jim and Travis are sitting there, and they're sitting next to each other. I look over, and they're like,
yeah.
So they're like this, and of course my daughter carefully reaches out with the hands, and then I describe the pseudopod reaching out, grabbing her, sucking her into the thing, and she screamed like a scream queen out of a B movie, loud. My wife called down to the basement asking what was going on.
It's a gelatinous cube, nothing to worry about.
Gelatinous cube, yeah, that was great. She still talks about that. She's still horrified. It's great. She's 24 now, so still plays with us. So those are good memories.
Yeah.
So
for the early adventures you do are always fun.
Oh man, yeah. I like to run for new people because you can live vicariously through them. So. When is this Kickstarter starting, Matt?
Well, we're probably launching either the 27th or the 28th of this month in March. The people can go and get to they can go to the page now and get notified for when it launches. Most people are familiar with the pre-launch page.
There'll be a link in the doobly-doo.
Okay, so and I will send that to you once we're off the call, and so and I greatly appreciate if people do that. It does, like you can tell, I've been making a lot of assumptions and projections and stuff from the number that we have. So it's always useful to have projections for things. And so if people can do that, that'd be wonderful. I'd really appreciate it. So yeah.
Awesome, great. Hey, Matt, I just want to thank you for taking time out and stopping by the channel and talking. I'm really excited about it. I hope everybody goes ahead and signs up on this Kickstarter because it's going to be a good one. So thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I always love coming on this one.
Hey, great. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
All right, take care.
And that brings this video to a close. I hope you found this conversation with Matt Finch a lot of fun. Please stop on over at the new Swords and Wizardry Kickstarter page and sign up to be notified when it becomes active later on this month. Later on this week, I'm going to revisit Dungeon Crawl Classics with a fun review of Harley Stroh's module, Jewels of the Carnifex. Of course, let me take the time to sincerely thank you, my patrons. All of you are integral to making this channel possible. Thank you so much. Please give this video a like, comment, and share. Please check out my Teespring store for great gaming swag, t-shirts, carry bags, coffee cups, and more. Join the channel's Facebook page, RPG Retro Reviews, and consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron yourself, or alternatively, you can just send a tip through the PayPal tip jar. A link is in the description. Also, Super Thanks is now active. And as always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.